Recording in progress.
Hey yogis, so glad we could be here together. I'm going to invite you to lay down flat. And the first thing we're going to do is come into sighing breath. I feel like a lot of people I know have been going through intense stuff, whether it's just working too hard, go, things being too compressed, or maybe unexpected things in their life. And that can set up a stress pattern in our nervous system, and we want to just calm it. So when you're ready, please join me, inhaling slow, deep and wide through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth. Yeah. And every sigh says, I am well, I am whole, I am safe. There's nothing to know, do, or accomplish. You did it. You got here to the yoga mat. That was your only job. Let's keep going. Just a few more if you would. You guys are sounding great. I feel like we've got our own beautiful sigh music out there. And actually, when we sigh, it tells other people around us that it's okay. Again, that there's nothing that we need to figure out. No emergency. Just this moment, this body, this breath. And of course, you can return to sighing breath anytime you want to. Anytime you just want to move some stagnant energy. When you feel complete with sighs, just close the mouth very softly. So we're going to give some deep attention to our mouth positioning, right? I'm going to ask you to first take the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, like you're trying to touch behind the front teeth. And then tell the rest of the tongue to be soft. And specifically let there be space between the upper and lower molars at the back of the mouth, between the upper and lower jaw. Think about it. When we're stressed out, whether we're in a hurry or we're worried, a lot of people clench the jaw, right? We compress. So just by taking this very soft, spacious position of the mouth, we send a deeper message of well-being. I'm going to ask you to notice, this is very subtle. What happens if you make just a small smile? I don't mean a big smile that I can see from across the room. Just a little smile. Notice perhaps not only some of the physical changes like in your cheeks, but maybe you feel even a little lighter in your chest or in your belly. I'm going to ask you to do two more things that will help us stay introverted, connected in our body and in this moment. One is that inward gaze. So the eyes are closed, but we cross our eyes like we're trying to see up behind the center of the forehead. And they've been able to study that this act actually helps cultivate introversion, that the brain, all the parts of the brain that are usually, paying attention to the world out there, get quieter. So I love that there's a tool for that. Thank goodness. Yeah, and then the last one is we're going to add ujjayi. Ujjayi means great sounding breath. I also think of it as like wind in the trees or ocean waves. And we create that by contracting the throat just a little bit. Yeah, I can already hear a few of you doing it. And that breath begins to make that sound, but with the mouth closed. And I think of this breath as a mental cleanse. I can sort of picture the surface of my mind like a pond or a lake, and the breeze of my breath sweeping across the surface and and kind of sweeping any leaves or other detritus to the side until the surface is clean and clear. That's a tool that we can use over and over again. So I'm going to ask you now to turn on your curiosity. Can you find the moment of pause that exists between the inhale and the exhale and the inhale? It's almost like a moment of hovering, like when a wave comes up on the shore and it pauses before it returns back to the body of water. And if you have a really hard time staying present moment, one of my favorite tools is asking, is there more? So as I'm watching my inhale, I'm also thinking, is there more? Is there more? That helps keep me curious and present and patient. We'll be here for a few more breaths, just finding the pauses. And for the next 3 breaths or so, I'm going to invite you to add a little tool that we haven't used in a long time. But I'm going to invite you to plug your ears and listen to the movement of your own breath, the music of your breath. When you let the hands go, you become aware again of the air and the space around you, your fellow yogis here relaxed. And I'm going to add one more kind of mental focus or imagination. I find it really incredible to remember that when we're breathing and we're breathing in the air around us, there are particles from all over the planet, maybe the galaxy, right? Little particles from the Sahara Desert, from the Honduran rainforest, from the pine tree behind our own house, right here, right? Like all of that. So it's kind of incredible to remember that we are a part of a huge organism, not just this planet itself, but all of the air that we move through every day, and all of the other people who have been here. So one of the reasons I like that idea is it not only, again, kind of brings me into my imagination and novelty and present momentness, but also, so here's a fun little opportunity for you. I think it gives us an opportunity to intentionally connect with any wisdom or thought that we would like to. So I want to ask you if you have, a person you've admired, perhaps, maybe it's someone amazing in history who did something really big. Maybe it was your great grandmother. Maybe it is the wisdom of a tree, a big grandmother tree. I want to invite you for just a moment to consider, is there any kind of like wisdom or knowledge or energy that you'd like to connect with? And for the next few breaths, we're going to focus on emptying our exhale as completely as we can, and then letting the inhale bring in that energy. So, and don't worry, you can't mess this up. If you're like, I'm not sure how to do this, don't worry about it. So on your next exhale, what I would like you to focus on is drawing the belly, your abdomen, towards your spine, and then anchoring your back into the floor as you empty out every drop of breath. So you're getting your container completely empty, like a balloon with nothing in it. And then on the inhale, you're letting that balloon be breathed, expanded. Yeah, let's do that maybe another like half a dozen, another 6 times or something, but adding with it that intention of what energy you would like to fill your space with, or what energy you'd like to connect with. And you're ready. Empty, empty, empty. Filling, filling, filling. When you're in that emptying phase and you're really tightening your abdominal muscles, try to stay soft in the neck and face. Be curious, is that difficult for you? Notice if your mind wanders off. That's inevitable. We are humans, although we like to say that we have puppy mind or squirrel mind, you know, like they're so crazy and they run around and they're distracted by everything. Just notice that your mind has wandered and return to your attention. Inward gaze, light connection of the tip of the tongue, ujjayi, throat breath, any combination of those that's working for you. Do just a couple more. The next time you're inhaling, I invite you to just sweep your arms overhead towards the wall behind you and begin just organically stretching. Curious, it's like you're waking up for the first time today, and maybe you yawn, maybe you roll wrists and ankles. And then I'm going to invite you to just reach long through your right heel and your right hand. So I'm going to flex through my right heel and reach away from my body and reach through my right fingers. And I'm just kind of letting my face rotate left because that's comfortable for my neck. I want you to take a couple more breaths inside of this intense reach and notice what's there. One more big inhale, reach, reach, reach. Is there more? Exhale, relax. Does that side feel different? And then we're going to reach through our left heel, flexing the toes up towards our kneecaps and our heel away. Reaching through the fingers. Again, I'm going to just rotate my face to the right because it feels more easeful. And I'm going to breathe here, be very curious. It's a little harder to breathe into a tight shape, isn't it? Now let's do one more big inhale. Exhaling, release back to your corpse pose. So we'll come into abdominal pumping. Inhaling slow, deep and wide. Big belly breath. Exhale, empty, squeezing out. Hold the breath out. Don't inhale. And draw your belly in towards your spine, towards the floor. Like you're saying, see how skinny I am. Then press it towards the sky, making a big Buddha belly, a little loaf of bread as I think of it. And as you continue without breathing, notice the massage you're getting inside. And of course, when you need to breathe, let it all go. We're going to do 2 more like that. And I'll remind you that you can always change the intensity or the pacing of that abdominal pumping. But one of the things that we're getting to do here is notice what's in there, what level of tension, what level of fluidity and openness. If you've been hurrying or worrying at all, this area has probably gotten a little tight. Awesome. Then if you would, gather your right knee into your belly, release wind pose. I'm gonna hug that right knee as tightly as I can, shoulder heads anchoring down the back. Again, always scanning our neck for unnecessary tension. And then switching. As you draw your left knee in, right leg reaching away. Is this side different? What's in your hips, your low back today? Big belly breath. You're like sending your belly to meet your thigh. And let's switch again, bringing that right knee in again. This time, excuse me, I'm going to take my left arm out to the side to kind of help me anchor. And I'm going to bring my knee, my right knee out to the right as far as I can. Yeah. Then I'm going to plant my right elbow so that I've got support. I'm going to bring my right hand around behind my right thigh and knee. And I'm going to extend that right leg straight as much as I can. And it doesn't matter if you never get it straight. In fact, I'm really tight through there. What I like to do is bend the knee a little again and then press through the heel towards straight and bend and straighten. Meantime, I'm anchoring through my left side. I'm using the action of my left thigh bone down, my core strength down. And then slowly bring that leg in. I want to see if you can grab your right foot with your left hand. If you can't, using a strap can help, and of course don't, force it. If it doesn't work for you, just hang on to that right knee and enjoy that stretch. But if you've got a hold of the foot, then you've got an opportunity to play. And what I'm doing is I'm going to use my right hand on my knee, and I'm going to push my knee towards the center line, and then I'm going to use my hand on my foot to push my knee out to the right. So it's just a little seesaw or like windshield wiper motion back and forth. Yeah. All right. And if you would, bring your left knee up under your right ankle. So we're coming into that reclined pigeon pose. We just did it a different way, but you can get there however you want. And then hugging and squeezing your right knee towards your chest, sending it a little towards the center line or the left until you find treasure. Again, this is where being curious is so helpful because we might play, right? We might go, ooh, what happens if I do a little of this, a little of that? And we're always curious, what does deep breath do? Awesome. I'm going to invite you to straighten both legs up to the sky. Feet flexed. Please connect your low back to the floor. And I'm going to have you just shuffle your feet along the sky. Like you're just going shuffle, shuffle. Yeah, you got it. I didn't know a better way to explain it, which is good because you guys figured it out. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. You might be feeling some tight hamstrings there, right? We're just doing a little hello hamstring. Yeah. All right, and then we're gonna see if we can get a hold of our big toes. So happy baby. I'm gonna let my knees come down by my ribs. I'm gonna bring my middle and index finger between my big and second toe to grab my big toe, but you can do it however you want. You can grab the outside of your foot, your ankle, and then see if you can draw down until those knees comes towards the floor. And yeah, I already see you guys doing it, which is great. Rocking side to side, because this is what a baby will usually do, or a toddler, if they get hold of their feet, right? They're like, wee! There's nothing static or boring about it. And what I find is when I'm rocking side to side, I can feel tension through my upper back, my kidneys. Mind you, maybe I'm tighter than you. Had a long travel day. So weird how just sitting can make you really sore. Yeah. It's like the worst. Yeah. All right. Then we're going to come back to center here. Bring both feet into butterfly. Right here at the butt. And some of you, again, will like to play. Bringing one foot towards your head and then the
other. You can even lift your head like you're gonna try and touch your big toe to your forehead, but if your neck is feeling tight today, leave it down. I didn't say it was gonna touch. All right, and then we're just gonna come briefly into bridge. So plant your feet flat on the mat under your knees and just raise the hips up, squeezing your thighs towards each other like you're squeezing a fake block there, an imaginary block. And then release it. I'm gonna ask you to just tune in, take a deep breath, scan and notice your body here. Marvelous. I'm gonna bring the left knee into the belly. I'm gonna take the right arm out onto the floor for anchoring. I'm gonna also anchor through my right side of my body, right? I'm using my belly and my right thigh to kind of anchor down. And then I'm gonna let my left knee come all the way out to the side. I'm still trying to bring it kind of up towards my armpit. So I'm getting a big reach from the left knee to the right heel. And when I add that awareness, I can feel that more in like my right psoas and hip area. Hoping maybe you can too. Then I'm gonna just let that left hand hold my leg. So we're basically in like a half straddle, right? I'm gonna bend and straighten to the best of my ability. And we don't care if it ever gets straight. We just wanna find that yummy stretch. Wherever you find it is good. Again, we've all got different bodies, so consider this your experiment. Yeah, when that feels complete, see if you can bring it in and get a hold of your foot with your right hand. Hugging that knee more tightly, and then sending things side to side. So I'm using both hands to gently but firmly move through the range of motion so that I can find those places that need the most stretch. And then as you are ready, we're going to take that leg straight up, the other one as well. Oh wait, I forgot to do the reclined pigeon, forgive me. Bring your right knee up under your left ankle. There you go. So just see, does that make a difference for you in your hip stretch? Some of you might prefer what we were just doing before instead of this. And if so, then other times when I'm teaching reclined pigeon this my regular way, you could always do it the other way, right? So this is part of the fun, is noticing, being curious. What does your body like the best? Then as you're ready, release, take both legs straight up to the sky. And instead of our shuffle, but you could do the shuffle again if you want, I want you to just see if you're able to bring your hands behind your calves. And if you can't have the legs straight, don't worry about it. You can bend them a little bit, keep the heels flexed. And we're gonna do a few deep breaths and intentionally deepen that back of the leg stretch, okay? So big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, so we're in our core. And see if you can apply a little pressure with your hands and arms, drawing the legs towards you. I've got a pretty decent knee bend. If you look at me, you'll notice that. So don't feel like you've got to have your legs straight. I can feel that all the way to the soles of my feet. Anybody else? Yeah. All right. Let's release for bridge pose. We're going to exhale, press those hips up. Again, imagine you've got a block between the thighs. And you might inhale and release all the way down and exhale back up. Or maybe you're craving more of like what I call a pulsing, where you kind of inhale and relax the pose a little, your hips come down a little, and then exhaling, you reinvigorate to that highest edge. Isn't it great to have options? And slowly release knees to belly. And one more deep hug. You can go a little side to side if you want. And then we're going to come up onto hands and knees and table. I like getting there by spinal rocking, just kind of up into my cross-legged and then rolling forward. All right, find your intelligent hand position, middle finger forward, other fingers spread wide. Inhaling cow pose, tailbone draws back, heart draws forward. I rarely see cows make this shape when they're mooing, but I'm guessing that's where it came from, I don't know. All right, exhaling, tuck the tailbone into cat back. When I think of this, I think of that like Halloween cat they show, the black one, it's just like, rah! But we're more relaxed than that. Inhaling cow, exhaling cat. I'm hoping in cat back you can really feel all of those core muscles. We want to wake these guys up because we're going to be using them in a moment because we're going to be coming into our plank pose, well, forearm plank. All right, the next time you are in that cat back, hold, and I invite you to send the ribs to the side, letting your head kind of move away. So I'm kind of moving my ribs right, head left, ribs left, head right. Maybe you also want to take your hips back by your heels, whatever feels juicy. Right, and then a nice strong core. Please come down to your forearms. And I'm hoping you feel, and you could try this, you might even feel that you can lift your forearms. So, in order to do it, you've got to be in your core, right? If I'm just hanging, I got nothing. So draw your belly up into your spine. Yeah, you guys are doing it. You did it. See, you didn't think you could, and you did. All right, now step back, 1 foot at a time, very active into your forearm plank, and you can immediately drop knees if that feels better. And my challenge that I offer to you is to be here in this very active, heat building, strength building pose, with the breath being as slow, deep, and wide as you can find it. Softness through your face, just the tip of the tongue connecting at the roof of the mouth. Imagine that your cheeks get heavy if you were talking with someone. So we're training ourselves how to be strong and powerful and engaged without being striving. When you feel like, yeah, I'm done, come onto your belly, just turn your head inside a moment or whatever's comfortable and scan. What did you create in your body? I hope a little heat, maybe a little heartbeat. Yeah. Now, what would it feel like to bend the knees and gently windshield wiper the lower legs? Again, gently, because it can be irritating if your low back is feeling a little sensitive and you start going fast. So I'm going to invite you to keep your legs in this bent position. We're going to make it more active, so I'm going to flex my feet. Then I'm going to ask you to come up onto your forearms, and I really want to emphasize the importance of squeezing your butt cheeks down. So I'm anchoring my pubic bone and hip bones. That's important, okay? If you start to get a hamstring cramp, come out and go like that, and then come back. But we're going to go like this. And you can take your hands further forward if you're feeling like, oh, this is too much on my back. Bring them forward. But we're going to go like this. I'm going to settle my forehead towards the floor. And I'm going to inhale and draw my heart forward, away from my hips. And you can always relax the legs if you want to as you relax your head. And we're going to do that again. Inhaling, feet flex towards the ceiling, heart draws forward. You guys feeling that in the front at all? Yeah. Yeah? Oh, good. Not just me? Awesome. And again, if you're feeling back pressure, make sure you're squeezing your butt cheeks down, kind of tucking the tailbone. And also, you don't have to go super high. It's more that you're drawing forward, and then it's the addition of the breath. Let's do one more. And let's release back to child's pose. Let's bend it the other way. Take those knees wide. So feet together, knees wide. Whatever version your body is craving today, maybe those arms are forward of the head, maybe they're kind of in by your head. Sometimes I get really active and I swing my kind of shoulders side to side. I like how that helps me get into that side body. So speaking of side body, we're coming into thread the needle. And you guys may remember there's multiple places you could do thread the needle. So I can be standing if I want to, right? I can just bring the arm across and bring the elbow like this. So if your neck is sensitive, that's maybe a better place. You could go in table and bring one arm across, settle on that shoulder, get the stretch. My personal favorite is being in child's pose. So I just start with my butt all the way back, hands forward, I lift up my chest and weave one arm underneath and settle onto that shoulder. I prefer that, my neck prefers it, some of you might prefer one of the others that I just showed you. Whatever version you're in, I want to remind you the value of breathing deeply, and I'm hoping you can feel the breath kind of stretch into your back of your ribs, right? We forget that we have lungs in the back of the body, right? They're not just at the front. So it's almost like I like to imagine I'm breathing and picturing I'm unfurling wings. I was a magical creature with wings back there. I might inhale would just help open. On an exhale, only when you feel complete. Nice belly to spine. Come back to your starting position. And take the other arm across. So when we're in any kind of a twist, which this is, it can be hard to get a full inhale. So we've got to kind of breathe past the resistance, right? We have to want to find that deep stretch. I always say that like deep breath is our change agent. It's what helps bring us into knowing our body better, finding new places that are tight or want release. Again, returning on your exhale, coming back to center, and I'm going to come into table pose for another cow-cat to take us into downward facing dog. And my challenge to you, because you've all woken up your core here, is that as you curl your feet under and you send those hips up and back, to do it from here. And how do I know? Because once I'm in downward dog, I should be able to lift one hand at a time. If you're just hanging on your joints, that's much harder and not safe, by the way. All right, please begin to pedal, pressing one heel towards the floor and the other. This should bring us again into that back line that we were exploring through the Achilles and calf and hams. What happens if you take your feet wide to the outside of the mat like we do in bear pose and you pedal? And then we're going to slowly walk the hands back towards the feet and hang out in our ragdoll with the feet nice and wide. Please find a few deep breaths right here. If you want on the inhale, you can kind of give it a little room, sort of extending through the spine if you need to. On the exhale, belly to spine, you're squeezing that balloon, emptying, 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 emptying. Do one more like that. And then slide your hands up onto your thighs right above your knee. Inhaling, press into essentially cow pose, but in a squat. You got it. Exhale, sit your butt down into a chair. You got it. And it could be a bar stool or a deep chair. You decide. And what would it be like today to balance on the balls of your feet? What would it be like to lift the heels? I'm sorry I can't actually watch you because I bet it would be really fun right now. But it's too hard. All right, inhaling, release your feet. Push the sky away. Exhaling, resolve in prayer hands. And remember I was talking about like other people's eyes and novelty and the newness. I'm going to ask you in this moment, as one hand is touching the other hand, to just tune into that sensation. Just notice. It's almost like a little kiss. And our hands are incredibly powerful and important to us, of course, in so many mundane ways. But also, we all have healing energy. And in this moment, you might actually be feeling the kind of amping up a little heat, perhaps, between your hands. This is a beautiful place to tune inward, acknowledge your own good heart, your amazing, resilient body, any other gratitude that you have. And I'm gonna have you add even more heat by rubbing those things together. I'm gonna help you reconnect to that thought you had earlier around any energy that you want to connect with in the world, the globe, the universe, your great grandmother, whatever, just whatever that represents to you. And again, maybe add a soft smile to your face. And as you're ready, you might take those hands and you can touch the body if you want, on the belly, the chest, the face. But a lot of people who work with healing energy suggest that actually it's more powerful even out in the energy field, right? We don't stop at our skin. Our energy projects forward and backward and above and below us. I'm gonna ask you for just a few breaths, kind of breathe into that space, welcoming that energy that you wanted to bring into your world. We're gonna gently come out of that. When you're ready, no rush, roll out wrists, roll out ankles. Good, we're gonna turn sideways on our mat. Let's face that way. Got a nice view out there. And we're gonna be doing some movements, and it's really important during that you don't feel any big stresses in your ankles or your low back or knees. So remember to just really adapt things, all right? First, we're in a little bit of you guys actually have it perfect. You're not in a big wide straddle, just a little bit of stance. And we're just gonna start going side to side. I sometimes think of it as like a grandfather clock tick tock, right? Just sort of shifting our weight. I'm gonna ask you progressively as you do this, can you start thinking instead of your foot as one just big plop, plop, plop? See if you can connect with the ball of the big toe and intentionally kind of land that. And I'm not saying nothing else lands at the same time, but you're aware, just like if I wanted to use my index finger to touch something, you're kind of doing that with the ball of the big toe. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I want you to also be pushing off from that. So it's what you're landing with, but also it's your pushing off point. Yeah, and what would it feel like to give more spring? Just a little more bend in the knee and push off. Bend in the knee as you land, push off. Yeah. So believe it or not, this is great practice for walking on the ice. Which thankfully we don't have yet, and you wouldn't do it like this. We're waking up the body parts to help you. Okay. What would it be like to let those arms go in now? And everyone does this differently. For me, I send my arms away from the leg if it's lifting. That's just what feels natural to me. But you might be doing it the other way. If you're curious, try that. Just a few more. I'm gonna ask you to now kind of get your breath back to that slow, deep and wide. It doesn't match the movements. Just your own beautiful breath wave. Looking good, people. And then now the biggest challenge of all, you're gonna stop on one foot. Oh. And then again, remember that ball of the big toe. And then you're gonna stop on one foot. And see if you can anchor through that big toe. Do that a couple more times, back and forth, your own timing. So even though our eyes are open in the room, we are seeing down deeply into the ball of the big toe. Just a couple more. Last time. Ah, beautiful. Bring those feet flat, bend the knees and fold. And let's just take those hips side to side. This should help get into some of that IT band hip connection tension that you might have just built. It's good, we want to be strong through there. People always talk about the dangers of falling and breaking hips and whatnot. And a big part of what actually keeps our bones structure safe is all of our strength of the soft tissue around it. So we want to breathe into some of that tension, but also celebrate how much strength you've built. All right, so next, with your hips pretty low or whatever you can manage, I'm going to invite you to take your left hand And I want you to see if you can bring it behind your right heel. And you can straighten your left leg as much as you want. And then I'm going to invite you to kind of extend your spine a little bit and see if you can rotate a little towards the right. So I had to kind of extend to get my belly out of the way. Okay, now if you want, you can even take your left hand around behind the calf or around the outside of the shin. That can be helpful. And then I want you to just see what it's like to open that right arm towards the ceiling. And breathe. And this is yours. This is your shape. There's nothing you're trying to imitate. So I want you to make sure it feels interesting and good. Challenging to breathe into twist. We already know that. While you're there, lastly, do you want to add a partial bind, bringing your right arm down around behind the back. So the back of the hand is on the low back. And when you're ready, very slowly unwind that. We always want to be slow with shoulders. Now we're going to go to the other side. I need to sigh breath between. Anybody else? Hi, you guys are really cute upside down. All right, I'm gonna take my right hand down around behind my left ankle. I'm gonna breathe there a little bit, get used to it, and then I might take my hand around the outside of the ankle. We're gonna take my left hand up, and if having it up in the air doesn't feel okay, just keep it on your hip. And giving yourself plenty of room, you might decide to straighten your back and then rotate a little more. I'm amazed by the amount of space that I can find when I do that. And again, maybe you add that partial bind. Thank you for reminding me. Always slowly unwind that shoulder. All right, we're gonna come up again very thoughtfully, hands coming up to our thighs, inhale into that kind of cow back, tailbone back, heart forward. Good, exhale, tuck the tailbone and settle into a nice wide stance chair. You got it. One more opportunity if you want, raising the heels off the floor. And release, inhale, push the ceiling away. And then as you bring those palms together, just remember that special touch, palm to palm. You can also connect the thumbs to the third eye, forehead point, and then your own heart space. If you're game, I would love to do that 3 more times. And on the exhale, inviting us to all make the Om. And I remind you, actually, the most interesting part of Om is the part, and you get to hear and feel the vibration in your sinuses and your jaw, and it's known for actually helping create space and move tension. So let's give it a try. Inhaling, sweep up, big breath. Is there more? And in your own time and sound. Gorgeous, twice more. Is there more? Is there more? Is there more? Is there more? You're ready, bring those feet on in, again, roll out ankles and wrists. And we're gonna take some of this, I hope, kind of groundedness and so on into our tree pose. As many of you know, I'm a lover of trees. They're so amazing. We have these huge grandma trees at the Third Mountain Retreat property that we've been giving treatments to help them last longer. So I've been just really thinking about trees, and then being in the tropics. And we had a tree next to us that they said was a big tree that is, you know, the size of this stage, and it was just so spectacular right next to our place. I just absolutely loved it. But it was also so fun noticing how different trees root in really different ways. Like, right, like coconut palms have all those little like baby roots that you see on top and then kind of spread out. And then we know
like, you know, some of the trees that we have here that have roots that go down as far as they go up, and, you know, oaks and so on. So it's just kind of, again, we walk along this surface of the earth all the time, even looking at beautiful trees, and we don't think about the rest of their entity that is down below the earth that we're walking on. And I forget all the time. It always is just amazing to me, like entering outer space or something, when I remember that, like, oh my God, that's right there. So as we're doing our tree, I'd love you to imagine your root system that is going down. We'll start by bringing our feet all the way together. Bring your big toes touching, and then lift the other toes and just see if you can invite them to spread out. Like, we can do that with our hands, our fingers spread, right? And our feet can too, theoretically. We've just kind of forgotten how to do that. So when you've got a little bit of a spread, see if you can lay the toes down so that you still got some space between the toes and you can see your mat. If you can't, we're like, I have more between my right toes than my left. You can go down and actually see what it's like to kind of spread them out, and then the mat will kind of hold them, and then I feel a little like a tree frog or a gecko. I had so much fun watching the geckos. Oh my God, they're so cute. They're green and they're just like so cool. So I was like, how cool would it be to be able to do that on the ceiling? They're harmless. I know, she's like, yeah. I get it. Creepy crawlers, I get it. I'm also going to start my tree pose with my hand, palm to palm. And I want to think about broadening through my heart space. Again, like the wings, my shoulder blades are kind of coming in towards my body. I don't want to shove my ribs forward. I just want to come out of any kind of shoulder hunch into a broad heart space where I feel the breath can happen in the front and the back. Light connection, tip of the tongue. For this moment, you might even close your eyes, which makes balancing more difficult. But to be clear, our goal is not to be a perfectly still tree. Our goal is to stay rooted and to breathe. So let's find our deeper breath here. Begin to notice the belly moving. And hopefully that breath wave moves all the way up into your ribs. And the neck is soft, just the light connection, tip of the tongue. Again, maybe a soft smile. We want to maintain all of that ease, even if we find ourselves falling, because it's not far to fall. You're fine. Squeezing your thighs together for a moment like you want to make one tree trunk. And then you can back that off a little bit. You don't have to stay like, but still feel that connectedness. Begin to picture your roots anchoring down, all that vibrant strength rising up through the crown of the head. Before we decide to move one of our feet, I'm going to invite you to just actually move your body weight a little forward and a little back. A little left. All right. Notice the parts of the body that compensate, right? Our core is ready, it's designed to do that. Feel ready to challenge that a little more. You can bring one foot into kickstand. Never at the knee, by the way. Always at the calf, or if you prefer to go higher, you can. I don't do that for a whole variety of reasons. I find it kind of tends to push on my hip. And we want to keep the thighs squeezing in. We want to keep the hips right where they are, not cocked out. Maybe you want to keep the eyes closed or open them for a bit to make it a little easier. Perhaps you're ready to add tree branches. Are you picturing a specific kind of tree? I'm definitely going for the big fig. I did not intend that. No, I've made you laugh, which makes balancing harder. That's good. Yeah, if you're not having a hard time balancing at all, please make it harder. Close your eyes or start laughing or something. A little addition that I love, a hand position, which we call a mudra, is you can bring your index finger and thumb together and then the other fingers out straight. I just feel like that helps me bring my awareness all the way out to my fingertips. Keep that breath going. See if you've got a couple more breaths, even if you're falling out. The breath is slow, deep, and wide.
As you return, feel the foot return and the hands return hand to hand, thumbs perhaps lightly connected with the heart. Let's find the other side. Finding your tree, remember to squeeze those inner thighs towards each other. And even as you add your foot on the leg, you can still be imagining that squeeze. It will help you. And of course, that ball of the big toe, right? That's our anchoring point. Another little subtlety that often helps people is the foot that's on the calf, flaring the toes out. So I'm actually using the ball of that foot to kind of connect at my calf. It's not just a floppy foot, or a lot of times people try to use that foot to curl around the leg, and it actually is less helpful than that very thoughtful toes flared connecting with the calf. I love seeing people smiling even as they're wobbling. It's wonderful versus getting all stuck and being perfect. Again, our goal is not to be a still tree. It's to breathe inside of all of the unknown, the insecurity. So you've got 2 more breaths here. Uniting down through that inner foot. Squeezing the imaginary block, or making the trunk. When you feel ready, again, ideally a thoughtful return, foot to floor, palm to palm. A long inhale, root rise, big sweep, open heart if that feels good. Exhaling ragdoll, let that head hang. Full breath here. Big inhale, you can always give it room, extending the arms or spine a little forward. Deep full. Plant the hands and step back to your downward facing dog, or however you like to get there. If it's better for you to go from cow-cat, fine. All right, we're gonna do a few little pulses, and then I'm gonna invite dog series, but anybody who wants to, you can certainly go back to nice cow-cat. Otherwise, right here, I'm gonna have you inhale, come a little forward, like your shoulders are coming over your wrists, and then on your exhale, you decide nah, and you go back to downward dog. You're using that core to draw you up and back like a little harness. Again, I'm gonna come forward a little and back. One more. And opportunity, again, either in table or dog, to take right leg flying. Notice what that does. Try and reduce the weight on your hands. You might be able to lift one hand and then the other because you're so rooting and reaching from core to foot. Let's try the other side. Got it. And your option here, if you'd like, dog series, inhaling to your plank. I always go knees down for my first chaturanga of the day. I only usually do one. Elbows bent. Nice, slow, lowering one. Kiss the earth. Inhaling, cobra pose. Draw that heart forward away from the hips. And begin a child's pose or downward facing dog. Wherever you are, find 3 settling breaths, and please notice if there's anything you're craving. We're going to do just a little bit more on our belly, get into our back body. How are you guys doing? Oh, good. Yeah, this is a good way to spend a rainy morning, right? Yeah. I'm so grateful you're all here, truly. All right, so as you are ready, coming down to your belly, because in fact, we want to work on a part of the body that I'm very grateful for, and I'm grateful I'm strong there because of yoga, which is that back body, right? Nothing like traveling to notice a lot of bodies and how many people are schlumping their way through the world like this. It's so depressing. I'm like, you should look happier and more energized. I'm like, you're going on vacation and this is your, right? I'm like, what about like, yeah, life is great, let's do it, right? So we need that back body to engage, to actually shorten, and we need the front to lengthen, to bring us into that way of being in the world. So I'm gonna invite you here on your belly, forehead on the floor, anchor your pubic bone and your hip bones, bring your palms behind you for jet airplane, but please take a moment with me and circle your shoulders until your shoulder heads are as far off of the floor as they can possibly be. They're down in the back and up off the floor. Beautiful. And then what happens if you just raise your hands off the floor and reach for the wall behind? And then please join me, we'll move with breath. Inhaling, extend the spine until your head is off the floor. You don't have to come very high for this to be useful. Exhale, slowly return. Inhaling, make sure you're anchoring the pelvis each time. Extend. Again, I'm extending through the crown, so my chin is actually tucking kind of almost into my throat. Nice long neck. Exhaling, return. Again. And if you're really enjoying just that, awesome. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to add on, if you'd like to hold in your extension, you can now reach through one arm and then the other. If you have room and your shoulders like it, you can be playing with like a kind of a swimming motion to the outside. Make sure your palms are rotated down when they're back, because that's what's going to help the shoulder head rotate in its socket. As soon as our shoulder head rotates a little forward, our trapezius muscle tightens, our chest is super tight, our shoulders compromised. When you feel complete, maybe you settle down to your belly, maybe you press back child's pose, maybe you're like, you know, I remember Andrea saying that our resting time is so much more powerful if we do a power pose beforehand, right? Really engaged, in which case, forearm plank, if you want to join me. I'll also remind you there are ways you can intensify forearm plank and kind of get into some of your lesser used muscles. So if you're on your feet, you can raise one leg at a time. You can even take it a little out to the outside. If you're on your knees, you can even just do a slow shimmy, taking your ribs just a little left and right. All of those things are going to wake up all these lesser used muscles, but that really make us strong and stable. And of course, the big challenge in all of it is to breathe while you're there. Nice. If you're on your feet, imagine that block between the thighs. And when you feel complete, just come on out and practice being relaxed. That's funny that we have to practice being relaxed. Yeah, and then I'm gonna just offer one final shape before you come into your resting. And that is to take the block. It might be one of the foam ones, the cork ones, or one of these squishy ones, whatever you prefer. And we have more squishies if somebody wants this one, is to raise the hips and you're going to put the block under your sacral triangle. I'll remind you there are two distinct shapes here. One is like this with my knees bent. And remember that block is not in the low back. It's not in those low vertebrae. It's right at the kind of bony occipital, or not occipital, what was it called? Sacral. Sacral. I say it all the time. I'm gonna blame it on jet lag. No, that you want it there so that it's actually helping elongate the low back, kind of flatten it out. And then we have the option with the legs straight. So it's whatever works for you. I like both. And I will say in both of them, emphasizing your breath can really bring you kind of into the sweet spot, whatever's available. So just noticing what's there. When we come out of this, we're going to be coming into our resting time, and you can just come flat into corpse pose. Or you could give me a wave right now if you know you're gonna wanna bolster. Be happy to grab it for you. And I'd love to come around today and offer a shoulder press. If you know you'd like me to skip you, you can give me a wave right now. So if you would just scan your body, whatever resting shape you've chosen, and just see if you can give in to gravity a little bit more. If there's any part of you that is kind of holding on or preparing. So you might affirm again that this is your yoga and this right here is your integration time. We've done all those beautiful shapes and attention to breath and intention about what energy you want to bring in to your system. Now all you have to do is soften, get out of the way, let the body integrate. Let the nervous system recalibrate. And if you ever sense that it's still difficult for the body to relax or become heavy, you might try some soft sighs. Affirming wholeness, affirming goodness, affirming peace, shanti. Just slowly expand your breath. Very slowly lift your awareness from inside of your body to slowly taking in the sense of the space around you, your fellow yogis. And still breathing deeply, very aware of your internal landscape. And to mentally become awake to the world that exists outside. And I'd love each of us to just ask ourselves, with what energy would I like to return to that flow out there? Sometimes I think of it as like, what emotional stance do I want to take? Do I, am I taking on something that feels difficult and I want to go in with kind of get it done sort of energy, or also maybe humor, for example, that can help break up tensions. If I'm going into something difficult, by showing up joyfully and with some playfulness, I might help those around me as well as myself get through something difficult. Maybe your focus might be just becoming more present in your own being, turning on that curiosity, that connection to novelty. If so, think about one thing you could do today, whether it's going to visit a tree that's in your yard that you never walk right up to, whether it's finding something in your refrigerator that you've never put in combination together when you make your lunch or dinner. For me, one of my greatest patterns that I'm trying to renovate, I like to think of it that way, is the ability to get things done, to have that forward motion kind of energy, but in a way that is in a relaxed pace in my own body, right? Being in each step, not striving, not planning ahead or having my mind always in the plan ahead zone. And it's something I know I'm probably going to have to practice my whole life. But bit by bit, I definitely feel that I'm improving in that way. Noticing striving, returning to be more paced, more joyful movement through the world of accomplishing. I wish you all a beautiful day. Hope you have fun being you, finding your way out in the flow of life out there. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Reminder that we're back here on Thursday nights again now. So Thursday evenings, 5:30 to 6:45. Thanksgiving week, our schedule changes. I am planning on having class on Tuesday. You guys be able to come join me? All right, let's do a good gratitude practice Tuesday. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Namaste, folks. Be well. Thanks again for coming today. It was great to be here and cozy with you all. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad I did. And I'm glad that you guys came here. Hope you had a great practice.